The last couple of lines was not really the intent of showing this. The idea was to kind of display the aggressive spirit that exists and how somewhere all of us still get stereotyped by what women entrepreneurs stand for. In fact, before we came into the session, Jacqueline and we were all talking outside, and Jacqueline out here firmly believes that we shouldn't even be calling this women entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurship. They should just be called entrepreneurs, human beings entrepreneurs, and that's right. Having said that, some good stuff is happening. 8 million women entrepreneurs in 2014 have now reached about 16 million, and they constitute about 20% of the total entrepreneurships in this country. 58% of the women entrepreneurs kick off their business in their 20s, before their 30s. 79% of them, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but 79% of them are self-financed. And it's a good thing in one way, but is it also not a very good thing in another way? We need to discuss that. At the same time, recently, Bain and Company had said that nearly 130 million jobs, and I think 170 million jobs are going to be created by women entrepreneurship businesses by year 2030. And I think that's, fantastic. So keeping this as a background, ladies, we're just going to have a little discussion around the topic today. In order to set a tone to it, I think what I would like to do is to throw some keywords into the air. And let's just use that keyword in context of the spirit of entrepreneurship, so to speak. Yeah, and let's just and these are all keywords which probably we've been hearing people talk about. We've been hearing some people talk about in the negative sense, some of them say in the positive sense. But the idea is to just discuss it out here and see which way this takes us. So I'm just going to throw the keywords, and I've written it out here. Okay, unconscious gender bias. Okay, this is a word that floats around, unconscious gender bias. Let me give an example. So there is this lady sitting in a pub, having a drink, deep in thought, alone, had a bad day at work, or probably figuring out what to do for a startup that she's had, or sitting on the beach and just watching. A lady single sitting, and the people around have very different views, except this. Okay, probably. So, Darakhshan, you have some comments on this?
I didn't get your point exactly as to how a lady sitting is perceived by people.
That's no, I'm not saying that. I'm just giving you a little context around this. So let me pull back. Unconscious gender bias. Does it exist? Doesn't it exist? What is your thoughts?
It exists, and I believe we face it every day. See, I'm the founder of a company, and there are many employees. So we have a BD team, and I had business expansion at my company. So anyone who wants to buy a Glam Studios franchisee has to come and meet me. But when they come and meet me, and in case there is a man in the meeting who is actually an employee of mine, and I still know more about the business because I founded it. I know the numbers better than they do, but still they would, look for validation towards the man. So if I tell them, fine, these are the numbers, this is what happens in this business, this is how you're supposed to run it, this is what we expect you to do. And they look towards the man. So suppose घर में, okay, ऐसा करना पड़ेगा क्या? Madam सही बोल रही है क्या? And I feel like telling them, dude, I am the one who's taught these people. But just because that person is a man, you expect him to validate what I've said just because I'm a woman. And I face that every day. And it is really surprising, but at the same time, I've come to accept it as part of life now.
But this is very, very amazing because I was just talking to Jacqueline and she had a very similar experience. Jacqueline, you must say what you told me.
I have this, exactly, this is what I wanted to say to this thing. I go into a meeting with anybody, whether it's at a retail conference or a meeting with my business partners in the MBOs, and I go with my BDM who happens to be male into any meeting. I say something and they look at him, they talk to him, and then I say, hey, it's me. Huh? He cannot give you the answer. And they say, yes, ma'am. And the gaze goes
absolutely, absolutely. That always happens.
So, I started my career as a banker. And when you look at a woman and finance and numbers, I think immediately, like what you all are talking, right? There's a disconnect and you think that this one can't speak about numbers. And but I think this is exactly what the video spoke about, right? It's a social conditioning that we all have, that this is what a woman can do and this is what a man can do. Boys don't cry, women do this, and women have to look pretty and beautiful all the time. And I think this is just a social conditioning And when you grow up like that, you're bound to have those biases. So when I started an adventure travel company, and there's so many examples, and I can go on and on and on. And the first one we did was a surfing retreat. And a lot of men and women, let me not bash the men here, but also women who came and said, will you find enough women who will sign up to surf? Is that something that a girl would like? These are bizarre things, right? So exactly, I mean, certainly they exist. They exist in the biggest way. But, I mean, there are enough, I think, forums, something like this. It's a platform for the right connect, and you pick something positive and you turn the story around. And I think that's where women need to empower their own selves today.
Sure. And I think, would you all agree that it's starting to get better by the day? Or is
Most
it?
certainly. Most certainly.
I don't know because I belong to a very small town in Uttar Pradesh and I belong to a family of educators. And till I became a startup entrepreneur, I had never faced gender bias. So I come from a small community. My parents let me do what I wanted to do. They made me go to the best colleges. They supported all my decisions. And I was never made to feel that you are a girl, so you cannot do this. It's only after, and there are people with much more exposure out here, investors from Harvard who feel that no, she cannot do it because she's a woman. So I feel it is there. It's just that people are maybe not saying it enough.
But clearly, it's something that needs to be destroyed, and the myth has to go, has to be killed. Point taken. Jacqueline, another myth that keeps floating around is about the business skills of women. Okay, the whole, the perception whether women have the right decision-making skills, whether there is a gut factor that plays, or whether they have a very perfectly sharp mechanism to take their decisions. Got a comment?
Before I answer your question, I want to say something
Not a
else.
question. It's a keyword.
Okay, before I answer before I give you a story for the keyword, I want to say something else, and that is that I truly believe that as long as we need women forums, we're not there. As long as we need a Women's Day, we're not there. As you said in the beginning, I said we don't need to be a woman entrepreneur, we need to be an entrepreneur. And I disagree with the gentleman who started the conference. I don't want to be better than a man. I want to be equal. I want to be regarded as an equal. I don't want to be, because of my gender, better or worse. I want to be judged on my capacity. I don't want to be judged at all, but if somebody judges me, please judge me on what I have achieved and how kind I am to people, rather than on any other things. Women's skills. I think, again, I don't hire or fire people because of their gender. I look what they're good at and what their capacities are, and there are certain roles which I would prefer to give to women, and I run a fashion accessory company for girls, and I don't see any sense of making a man a designer of earrings or something they don't actually relate to. And on the other hand, in the front end, my managers who have to travel from in the cities until late in the evening, I normally have men because it's just simply not safe enough for women to travel around in the evening. Then numbers, I mean, like, she's a banker, I am not. I was married to a businessman, and when I started my company, after a few years, I actually separated from him, and his company's finance people had taken care of all the finance and the HR and the leasing and legal things. And it was scary for me to, I'm a very independent woman, I'm very strong, I don't have any doubts in my capacities. But I was scared to say, okay, now I have to look into, the finance part, and I somehow thought, I don't know whether it's because I was a woman or because I never studied it, but I was a little like, oops, can I do this? But I figured out I could. And I think that's a big problem which women have, not only in India, but everywhere, is the fear that they cannot do anything. And, we are so conditioned as children that we will be good as mothers, we have to be good as wives, we can be good as cooks. But being a career woman, nobody conditions your kid or your daughter to do that. So, subconsciously we still fear that we are not good enough. And
Understood.
so we as mothers have to do a big job here.
And Garima, what she just mentioned, somewhere, does this come in the way of giving a feel or a perception to investing community or, partners out there who want to try and alliance up with you guys? So this whole perception that women are they're not very risk-taking.
Yeah.
And exactly what she said, the time that she herself took to understand that she's got the power to do it, does it get noticed by the outside world, and therefore is there a hindrance out there?
It certainly does, because there are preconceived notions. We are all, part of the same ecosystem, the same social circle. Having said that, I also feel there are a lot of people, for instance, business world, and what a fantastic forum. And there are so many such other forums, people who are working tirelessly to uplift women, if I may use the word uplift or empower, or give them the strength to actually come and shine and speak. So, and there are investment companies which are specifically looking at women entrepreneurs, and they reach out saying that we will only fund if a woman is there. And I'm working now closely even with Startup India. They have a separate program for women entrepreneurs. So
I think even Niti Aayog has got a separate cell
absolutely.
for women entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So there is enough and more happening there. But yes, if you walk into a boardroom and if you're discussing numbers, you're sharing vision, and you haven't noticed men suited, booted in their Armanis looking at you thinking, are you going to drive this? That does happen. So I can't say that it's not happening. But like I said, it's the opportunity what one wants to take today.
And just to complete that, I know you're waiting to say something, Darsha, but assume that they have this little feel when they look at you guys, and once you finish delivering, what happens after that?
Absolutely. So that's a fantastic point, which is what I wanted to say, that I think at the end of the day, your ability to drive something counts, which is what brings us here today. So if she was giving her example, and if someone questioned that whether she can drive the business, the reason she's here is because she did prove that I'm capable and I'm able. And I think I'll speak on behalf of every single woman who even goes out to work. And there are questions. I mean, like I said, it's a social form, right? So a woman who's going to work is assumed not to be as good a wife, as good a mother. But every single day when you deliver, and you deliver at home, you deliver at work, you're proving every single day that your capability and your ability will shine. But sometimes it requires a little bit of a rough patch.
Right. And you've been taking the mic up twice or thrice.
So
Just go
I
ahead.
like all the positivity that Garima is actually bringing into this discussion. But yes, there are 2 to 3 points that we cannot ignore. That as long as we're having women entrepreneurship summits, and that means that there is upliftment that needs to be done. The Startup India program that groups women in the category. If you want finance from the Startup India program, there is a loan basically that they have called Stand Up India. Okay, and there are 3 special categories that are given this loan: women entrepreneurs, handicapped people, and SC/ST. So basically, you have to understand the level of degeneration that we've lived through. If you're, coupled along with people who've actually been very, very, disadvantaged in society. So, and women should not have been there. But yes, the good part is that, yes, we're trying to uplift them. And at the same time, when she said that, yes, you prove yourself each and every day, I feel that why do we need to prove ourselves each and every day? And because we are judged each and every day as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter-in-law, and as an entrepreneur. And I believe that does not happen to men. And we need to give that up in our minds. If you have your wife, stop judging her on how well she's entertaining your guests, or bringing up your children, or treating your mom and dad. Because that's not just her duty. And it is a mindset of even the most educated people. And that's where we need to bring about change in ourselves.
Cool.
No, which is true. I want to, can I?
Yeah, of course.
I always speak about a solution mindset. So the problem exists. Does the problem exist? It definitely does. Women are underpowered, they don't have enough opportunities. Most of the careers, be it sport, be it cinema, be it corporate, they don't even have equal pay. Leave aside everything else that we're talking about. You're doing the same quantum of work but not paid equally. All of these problems exist. So where my take goes when I'm saying positivity is, one, we can dwell in the problem and say, oh my God, and this is so sad, and I don't get enough credit, and my husband and my in-laws. Or I can stand up and say, guess what? I don't need this. You definitely need an ecosystem, which could mean a forum, which could mean your best friend, which could mean a forum like this, and maybe 20 of us, connect on as simple as a WhatsApp group by the end of this day and empower each other, share the load, talk about the problems we have, battle it out. I really think that should be the way forward. The problem exists, and it will continue to exist because we are a transition economy. I think this will be the face of women in India for the next 10 years, until the next generation comes about and changes things, which is in our hands again.
No, Garima, what I'm saying is that the problem exists and all of us have the solution to the problem within our minds, and we need to change first. It's not just focus groups, it's not just BW, it's not just Stand Up India that needs to empower women. All of us need to empower women, and we need to understand that, yes, there are certain barriers that we've put for them, and that we need to remove those barriers.
I guess that's what she said, and also she just added that there's a little nudge that is required, and probably platforms like this can provide that nudge. But another big problem that probably is there around, some of us talk about it, is what Jacqueline mentioned, this whole concept, this whole worry of safety. And especially when you talk about entrepreneurships, when you talk about startups, we often hear people say, entrepreneurs keep saying that I'm a peon and I'm also the MD of the company, right? I mean, you do everything. That's how it all starts. Now that means late hours, that means doing a lot of things which probably you would otherwise get others to help you with. Is that something which is also prevalent and worrying? And does that come as a hindrance to speeden up your goals? Anyone?
I don't know, I've spent too much time in Delhi to feel insecure going out at any time, and I know it's a risk. So I have that mindset, okay, if something has to happen, it'll anyway happen.
I have 5 dogs. I have 5 dogs. I live in the middle of the jungle all by myself. I have 5 dogs. I think if I would be scared about being attacked, I would not sleep a single night. So no, I'm not scared. And I think you just take certain precautions, whether you live in India or whether you live in Germany. You don't do stupid things. Definitely it is a problem. But does it keep me in any way from doing anything I want to do? No. And definitely not in my business.
Right.
So I'll add to that. So I run a travel company, and one of I think, the overwhelming situations that has been in the last 2.5 years or 3 years that we've been operating. So globally, number of women who travel, the number has increased by 45% in the last 2 years, and that's phenomenal. The number of solo travelers in India has increased by 55%, and that's crazy. That's a crazy number. And I'm happy to be a part of that journey. So to give you an example, when a solo traveler travels with us, each touch point that she will go through, be it the driver, be it the homestay, and we talk a lot about sustainability and ecosystem, etc. And that we take care of. Now that empowerment as a provider I can do. And the empowerment from within, exactly what you and I were talking, is something that she needs to do and her family needs to support, So, and the conversations have changed. So we had 2.5 years ago, we had 5 solo travelers traveled in the year, and there was so much conversation around it. And I think every single person spoke about being allowed to travel or looked upon as crazy to travel alone. And this year, the first 5 solo travels have been gifts by men to their wives, to their sisters, to their daughters. And that's phenomenal. The change is happening.
Oof. So finally, so what you're really saying is that men also need not be stereotyped as ones not allowing the women to go forward. So family support you've also experienced family support that actually propels women to move forward?
Yeah, so I mean, it's both ways. I'm sure we all struggle with family, but family support or pressure, I think, are for men as well. So if I quit my job in my 30s and I wanted to start up, I think a man will go through a similar pressure and the journey as me, to quit a job and to say that, okay, now I want to start up and finance on my own. So I don't think in that perspective it's gender, but as many as, we all keep male bashing, and there are, of course, a whole lot of those, and that's why we do that. But there are men, and there are some good men, and there are strong role models, Yeah, some. So, I would say I would be privileged to say that I was brought up in an equal home with both my parents slipping into their olive greens, and both my parents served in the army, my mother, my father, both of them. My husband supports me in what I'm doing, and I think that plays a major role in maybe when I'm walking and I'm talking in that confidence, and they should be applauded as well. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. There's so many women, I'm sure, in this room where today is a holiday and it's Shivratri, and I'm sure some men are taking care of the kids at home, the pets at home, parents, whatever. I'm sure they're doing something at home while you are here, and we do that too for them. And I think, rather than going tom-tom about equality, it's really finding that balance, which I think most of us are forgetting about, that it's really a balance, and not really, I'll do this 3 times a week and you do that 3 times a week. No.
Jacqueline, you're waiting to counter.
I want to come back to my initial statement where we cannot reach there when we ride on this privilege of being women now. We can't turn it around and says, oh, we are so poor, we are women, now we need to be supported. I think what is really, really important is to find the self-worth, not doubting ourselves so much anymore, overcoming the certain fears, being confident in doing what you do rather than saying, I'm confident in spite of being a woman, I'm just confident with what I'm doing. And then instilling, and with that conviction, only with that conviction we can, teach that to our children, whether that's our sons or our daughters, or to our friends or to the kids of our friends. We have to live that life and truly believe in it, and not say, okay, I can do this and I can do numbers even though I'm a woman. Then, that if you even say that, you already put the seed of doubt into your mind. Oh, I'm a woman, can I really do that? It's not a question whether I'm a woman or not.